We are here to talk about Exchange Ideas, part of our Mindful Teaching Pro Live that we've been doing this year. We have a couple more sessions this year, so thank you so much for those of you that have been joining us. And we will get right into it. I have been asking everyone to please join me in a little bit of a different platform. Just like you would scan a menu at a restaurant, go ahead and use any device. I actually will also put in a link to this in our chat. Hi, Jackie from North Carolina. Missed that one. Sorry about that. So yes, join from your device, whether it's your computer, the link is in the Zoom chat, or you can just grab your phone, your tablet, scan that QR code on the screen. I see a couple of us have joined. It will be a little bit, more anonymous when it comes to, your names won't be all over the screen for the recording and things like that. So no worries if that's intimidating you from joining. I do love our opportunities to collaborate on screen together when you do join through AHA. If you aren't joining that way, please just keep your chat open so that we can continue to have some collaboration and have some responses around our ideas on Exchange Ideas today. So I see 5 of us in. That's a good number for me. I will continue to show the QR code as needed if you wanted to join during our activities. So right off the gate, I'm interested. Let me know, in your opinion, what is student engagement? Tell me all about it. What do you think student engagement entails? What is it? Is there one word, 2 words, a phrase? I see we've got some things coming in, so that's why I love this platform. Okay, so we have having students being an active part of learning. Yes, excited. I think that could be a form of student engagement, absolutely, if your students are excited to be there. Getting feedback and interaction in the class, for sure. Learning, yes, learning. If you're not engaged, learning usually doesn't take place. So I 100% agree with that as well. Absolutely. See a few more people still typing. I see in the Zoom chat participation in Q&A. So yes, absolutely. I see interaction, participation, those things coming up, contributions coming up a lot. Students interactively participating in class. Yes, and ultimately that really is it. If we go back to our definition in Mindful Teaching Pro, we're going a couple lessons back, but it says engaged refers to students' active attention, interest, and participation in the learning process. So we know engaged student is an involved student, and an engaged student is a motivated student. Remember, we're sparking that motivation, we're sparking that interest. It's up to that student to be motivated and interested and involved themselves, right? So thank you everyone for your feedback. We are going to dive deeper into the Exchange Ideas, talking specifically about increasing that learner involvement in the learning process. So what do we already have in place? What are some opportunities that we maybe have, thinking about things maybe in a little bit different way than what we're used to thinking about them. When it comes to delivering our materials, delivering our lecture, if per se, or our demonstrations, and helping our learners really make meaning of their learning. So putting it into a form that makes sense for them so that they can remember what they're actually learning and not have to continue to go back and refer to notes and things like that, that it's banking into that memory for them. So I have this slide here. We're going to dissect it a little bit. There's a lot of information on this slide, but if we start at the top, It says number 2, delivery phase. So we are, yay, we're moving into the delivery phase. It's our second phase of mindful teaching. We just got out of our readiness phase. So there were 4 elements in the readiness phase that we went through. That's why we're diving now into that 5th element. We're talking about exchange ideas. You can see in our delivery phase, we have 3 elements: exchange ideas, probe with questions, and affirm understanding. Within all of those elements, we're engaging that thinking. So we are really creating opportunities for those students, like we already discussed in that question, that opening question that we talked about, getting everyone really involved in their own education. So exchange ideas, that's where we're focusing today. I'm just going to skip for one more second back up to that top, because in the delivery phase, we're also shifting into that memory brain function. And remember, in memory, our brain is making sense of the information. It really correlates, right? It makes sense that in this portion in the delivery phase, we're trying to make sense of the information. This is when the new information is coming to us. So our brains have to understand and really make matches, make ways to remember or think about things in a way that makes sense to us, so that the information is clear and that we are ready to move forward with, expanding that information and using it, right? Our learners in this phase, they're asking, does this make sense? And us as educators, we need to make sure that it does make sense for them, right? So ultimately, with all of that said, the purpose of exchange ideas, our 5th element of the delivery phase, is really to define, explain, relate, and recap the important ideas of the lesson. So again, define, explain, relate, and recap. So these are the new things coming towards the students or towards our learners that we are introducing to them. We're defining what those are. We're explaining to them in ways that relate to things that they already know. We're recapping the information so that they are clear on what the information is that we are talking about to them. I also like this element because we really do talk about maintaining the learner's interest, right? Remember, I think I looked up the study in 2022, 8.25 seconds is that attention span for us, right? So we want to make sure that we are shifting gears and we're not always just talking at our learners, right? We're having opportunities to exchange ideas, to define, explain, relate, recap, making sure that everyone is aware and really making sense of the information on their own in their own way so that they can move forward in the learning process. So we are going to go into, I said there was a lot on that slide, but we are going to go into a poll. So if you are participating in AHA, I see only 2 of us are in there. Please get back in, go back to your devices, or just go ahead and let me know in the Zoom. This is our poll. What is the purpose of the exchange ideas element? What are we trying to do in exchange ideas? Oh, I have to unlock. I'm so sorry. I did not know that those were locked. Now we can begin. What is the purpose of the exchange ideas element? Please make your choices. Ooh, we've got a tie. Ooh. I like it. I like it. 7 seconds remaining. What is the purpose of the exchange ideas element? Very good. Our time is up. I saw in the chat we have define, explain what they know, recap. Thank you very much for that. When we look at our correct answers, it is actually all 4. So it was a little bit of a trick question for you, but these are the main purposes of the exchange ideas, that we're really making sure that the students are able to make sense of the information in their own way. And we do it in all of these different ways, by defining, by explaining, relating, and recapping. Thank you for your participation. So we are going to go into some best practices next, and then really want to dive deep into what some of your favorite practices are when it comes to exchanging information. But, I want to kind of paint the picture, because we've all probably been participants in seminars or classes where there's really little to no participation on our part as the learner, right? So I want us to just think about that for a second and how that learning experience was for you. When you just kind of go and you listen and you intake the information, maybe you're taking your own notes, maybe you're given a list of the topics or a note taker of some sort, and then you leave the seminar and that's kind of it. So 9 times out of 10, we oftentimes will go to those kinds of experiences, those types of learning environments, and then we don't really do very much with the information once we leave, unless you're really good at creating your own goals and making sure that you're like, no, I'm going to do this tomorrow. If you're not interacted with during the presentation and you're not really given those goals of what to do with this information next, then it's really hard to take a lot away from those types of learning and experiences. And that's not what we want our students to experience, right? So we want to talk about how to create the best interactive lectures. Some best practices here you can see on the screens are using the smart notes that we have through Pivot Point in our programs, in our libraries. Also using question starters, and we're going to get into the details of all of these, but also pair share is the last thing that we will discuss. So let's get into how these implementing these practices can make sure that we are really captivating our students during the learning process. So first, we have our smart notes. This is a part of our Pivot Point study guides. The study guides are a learning system that were created by Dr. Cliff St. Germain, and they're really designed to recreate a storyline and make so that your students can make sense of the information in their own way. So there's some key topics here listed on the screen, listening to the delivery of the information, so usually our lectures or our demonstrations or the videos that we're watching, making sure that you're writing down in your own words, paraphrasing the information, also making notes or pictures. Mind maps are often good. So I know I definitely have sat in or when I'm teaching and my students are kind of doodling and things like that, I remember back in the early days of my teaching career, I used to think like they're not paying attention or they're just doodling, but it was actually them writing down ways that are helping them kind of connect the material in their own way. So some of our students are going to draw pictures, some of them are going to write key terms, but the smart notes, they are, really meant to help accentuate or bring to life the opportunities that our students have to put the information into their own in their own way and map that out in a way that makes sense to them. So these are really great for visual thinkers. We do have the images that support them, that support some of the big ideas. So this example on the screen here. So this is really the point of smart notes, is that they're not just listening to us and recording word for word or looking at their study slides because we give them the slides and then just recording it directly from there. It really is meant to put into their own thoughts or their own words so that it's making sense to them, right? Remember, we're trying to make sense of the information. So that is the smart notes. Next, we have our question starters. So jumping start. Woo, it's Monday. Jumpstart thinking is the idea behind the question starters. We're going back to the purpose of the exchange ideas, right? That define, explain, relate, and recap. Our mindful teaching program has some really great more examples than what I have here on the slide about, depending on what you're actually doing with the information, they give you prompted questions on what to ask. So these are really great to use, just stopping your lecture and, saying, okay, I see everyone's getting a little antsy, or let's make sure that we hone in on this topic. So if you want to, in your own words, define, that's one example, or explaining how would you describe this to someone that has no idea what you're talking about. So again, mindful teaching has some great opportunities for questions if you want to create your own. We also know that in our lesson plans, we have some of those great questions already built in, right? So just following our lesson plan alone gives us many of these question starters. It's really meant to be at the beginning of that lecture. So really kind of I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but our next element is probing with questions. So it's really just meant to get their mind started thinking about the topic and really identifying, if we're defining something, do our students have the right idea when we're defining this? So just kind of that touch base in there. I like to use many questions throughout lecture. Again, back to that, and now I'm losing my focus, but our how much we can keep people engaged, right? Attention, yes, attention span. Exactly, that's what I was going for. So thinking about just switching things up, even though we're talking with the students and we are presenting the information, but let's switch it up a little bit so that we help them gain some critical thinking and think about it in a way so that it makes it personal to them, and they can think about the information and put it into order themselves. The other thing that I really like to do with the question starters is get your students on their devices for this. So if we're asking them to define something, quite literally say, Google this. Right? Our students want to be on their devices. They are on their devices. They're digital natives. So this is definitely something that you can kind of hone in on and help bring to life technology in a way that is still very on point with what you're learning, right? We're not utilizing our devices to just go on to Snapchat for a few minutes. We're doing it in conjunction with our learning, and it helps really create that engagement so that the students feel like you are, meeting them where they are. So question starters is our second, and then we have this pair share. Pair share is a quite large, it's a large concept that basically means, getting two or more students together and collaborating, interacting, sharing ideas on the information that you have delivered. I put this visual up here because this is a teaching pyramid. It is the theory behind supporting the use of the pair share. The percentages on the far right over here, they represent the research supported retention rate related to how the learners intake the information over here on the left. So you can see we're moving all the way from 5% retention of information at a lecture all the way to a 90% if we are immediately asking our learners to use this material in some way. Some examples are to demonstrate, having a learner demonstrate it. So step by step, kind of teaching, but pair share, get together with someone, share your ideas. How did you think about this information? What comes to mind? How do you relate this to something else in your life? That kind of thing. And also teaching others. So learner demo, teaching others. We've all had those opportunities where we have students create presentations, or some of the more fun are creating commercials or cheers or songs, but ways for them to put the information together and then present it back to the group are really inspiring and fun, but they also, the studies show that they are more likely to retain that information long term when they are able to do that. You can also use all of your activities in lab. So some of your talking points, you have opportunities where they can put videos into there, they can put images into there. Show You Cans, the Show You Knows, having them do their teach backs through lab even. So, you know, your opportunities are endless. You can even have them, again, going back to that technology, get onto a Snapchat, get onto an Instagram reel or anything like that, where they're doing something with the material to teach it back or to show what they have learned is going to help them retain that information. So I hope that this has kind of brought to life some of those best practices. I want to hear your favorite strategy for exchanging ideas. So we've talked about our SMART notes. We talked about, I'm going to pull up our QR code again, excuse me. We have talked about those question starters. We have talked about pair shares, so getting students collaborating, getting them sharing information. So I'm curious, what is your favorite strategy? I know you have them. That is, you know, a main point in this is us definitely getting together and sharing. We have newer educators in this group. We have very seasoned educators with a lot of experience in this group. Let's share our best practices. Okay, thank you. So telling stories, SMART notes is someone's favorite. Yes, games are definitely fun. Stories definitely can help create that personal aspect also. I see in the chat some videos, visual aids, and games. Excellent. I definitely like to utilize those question starters, but I am a proponent of doing it, you know, throughout. So really, if we're defining something, asking the question to kind of clarify that they're understanding it, but then moving into, if we're recapping, having that again. Obviously, pair shares, anytime that your students can get together, collaborate with one another. Our students are definitely into collaborating, into making sense of the information as it relates to how someone else kind of discerned the information or looked at the information. So our learners are very engaged usually when it comes to collaboration. We have some Show You Knows, the talking points, having the students share. Yes, anytime that we can do any of that, we are definitely creating opportunities for exchanging ideas and making sure that the students have an understanding in their own way. You know, listening to how someone else is discerning the information or taking the information in is really great because then they can still make their own sense of it. It doesn't mean that they have to understand it in that other person's view. They can still kind of create their own view on it and their own understanding. Thank you so much. So this is going to be where we switch it up a little bit, but I'm very excited because I am going to invite you into our community. It is our Pivot Point Flip community. I'm actually going to get rid of this QR code because that is related to our live presentation right now. This Flip community is going to take you directly to an area where we are going to be able to share our experiences with one another, specifically to this exchange ideas topic. And as we kind of go through this, I'm going to be sharing each topic. Flip is an actual Microsoft application, but it is an area where different groups of people can kind of get together and discuss topics. It is a video application, so we're gonna video our responses. I am going to be able to put the recordings into this area, and we will be starting to do this moving forward. So not directly after this, but at least by tomorrow, you'll be able to watch the recording of this video. You can share your experience. I highly recommend do share. I hope, today we've brought to light a few things, of maybe a few new things, or a few things that you do, but maybe you didn't know the reason why you were kind of doing them during your lecture and things like that. So I want to hear from you, and I'm going to post a response in there to kind of tee everyone up. I encourage you to invite your teams in here. Oh, I'm so sorry. I did also mean to put this link, because we do have a link. We don't just have a QR code. So if you would like to join this flip group and you are on the Zoom chat, I have put that into the link to join in there as well. So again, moving forward, we're going to be able to kind of watch this recording, revisit the slides. You can go through, and all of our slides that we have polls and we have opportunities to put in our responses. You're going to be able to do all of that through this topic and our flip pivot point group. So in there, you'll also notice I have little step-by-step of what to do, but really, again, just share your experience for today's session. Share if there's one thing that you can take from today's session and change or implement tomorrow in your learning environments. And, that's what we really want to do. We want to just see what we're learning, what ahas we had as we go through these short little sessions together. For half hour one Monday a month or so. So thank you for that. I hope to see you in Flip soon. Again, we always end our sessions here with describing, the lesson that we directly related to this topic is Exchange Ideas 501.15. We also have in the 501 series the lecture lesson. In the 200 series, there's a if you're interested in that memory brain function, that would be in 201.13 or 201.3, excuse me, and then 201.7, more talking specifically about the delivery phase in our engaging thinking, which we're moving into. We're going to continue to stay in our delivery phase. We just finished this light blue Exchange Ideas. We're moving next week into Probe with Question next session into Probe with Questions coming soon. We'll finish up the delivery phase this year, and then we will move into our third phase of performance here. So hopefully see you soon with our Probe with Questions.